Hey guys, welcome to Combustion Junction. I am Steve. Today we're continuing on the CB360 Scrambler project, and today I try my hand at seat foam shaping, and hopefully I get the last of the electrical buttoned up, so stick around. All in all, I'm really happy with this. It actually worked out way better than expected. I'm really glad I waited for the right foam to come. It was so easy to shape. I started with a flapping disc on the angle grinder, and as soon as I touched it, I knew I was going to be digging in too much. I did my initial shape just with a brand new X-Acto blade just to get really clean cuts. Went to like an 80 grit sandpaper just to kind of smooth out things, and then followed up with, I don't know, like 100 or something, or 120. It's pretty much done. Like, I don't really want to do anything else. I worked on this for a little bit because I knew it was going to have a little bit of an upswing, but I wanted it to be subtle. I also didn't want to get too far down. A little bit right there came off. I just got to glue that, but once the cover is on, and it's going to have that little bit of batting on it as well to give it a little bit, it's going to work out great. I think that worked out beautifully. I'm so happy with that. I don't know if I'm going to try and upholster it or bring it somewhere. Right now I'm leaning towards bringing it somewhere. I just have to find out where that somewhere is. But yeah, I'm really happy. Good one. Something else I also wanted to address today was getting the remainder of the wiring sort of patched in and buttoned up on the harness. Basically everything under the seat is done and pretty much connected, save the starter, which will come later. But I kind of wanted to get, I wanted to get the holes done for my little signal guys up here. If this is going for paint or powder coating, I want obviously those cut first. And I also, you know, want to get the headlight done. The wiring on the headlight was pretty easy. Obviously it's a pretty universal plug, but the last thing I need is the dash wiring. And what I've decided to do is use the actual headlight housing. Originally, I was gonna do, you know, sort of the typical Honda little thing panel here with the lights in it, but I just didn't want the mess of what would have happened with the wires coming out and through or whatever. And then looking down at the Speedo, this part of the headlight is very visible, and just I thought, why not just put these little 3 little LEDs in here. I don't have an oil pressure warning on this bike, so I basically need the turn signals, I need high beam indicator and neutral indicator. So 3 holes on the top of that, and then we can tie everything into the harness. I think these look great, and the nice thing is they come with little tiny O-rings that you stick on before you stick them down, so ideally these are actually weather sealed. They're just hand tight underneath right now. Obviously everything has to come out to get all soldered up and everything. But speaking of that, one thing I like to do when I'm pulling wiring together, especially on this bike, especially because I have so many extra harnesses, is I just like to find the right plug with ideally the right color from an old harness, because these little bullet connectors, you know, are so rock solid, and I'd rather go this route and solder here with a bit of shrink than, you know, do the silly crimp-on ones or whatever. These are just, it's just a much nicer original fit, and if they're in good shape, why not? So generally what I do is I wire them, twist them, and tape them to test, which I still have to do with these guys inside the headlight, and then I can do all my tests, and then ultimately when the whole harness comes out, for everything else to get dealt with, I could sit at a bench with a soldering iron and really do everything up really nicely. So that's what I'm going to do in this case as well. Okay, so basically everything is kind of temporarily twisted and taped together. If you look down here, you can see this is the little 2-in-1 diode guy that you can get from Taylor over a Classic Octane. Basically, it takes the 2 hot signals from the rest of the turn signal system and converts it into a single hot lead, and then the other side of that goes to just the chassis ground. The high beam, pretty straightforward. Ground, black goes to ground, and then the hot taps into the high beam connection to the headlight. The neutral safety switch is slightly different. It gets a permanent hot, so I just tapped in off the black wire, which is the switched hot of the harness, and then the ground gets its signal from the green wire with the red stripe that comes up from the switch and goes to the diode and a couple other different places. So everything's almost perfect. Let me get this all back on and turn the key on and show you. There's low beam and there's high beam. I've got my neutral light on. My turn signals are working good. My indicator works on both sides. I'm switching them back and forth right now. You can see that. The only issue, and obviously lights on and off work great. The only issue I'm facing is my high beam indicator bulb. I don't know if you can really see it. I'm switching between high and low beam right now. You can see it sort of always stays illuminated and just gets a little bit brighter when I actually engage the high beam. I think there's enough of a power bleed from the two filaments to always keep this lit. I've tried 3 different headlights. I get this exact same result every single time. If I plug in the CJ dash lighting in its place, it acts like it should. It turns off at low beam, turns on at high beam, just because I don't think there's enough current to actually light up like there is with the LED with the traditional bulbs. So I'm gonna have to look into that, either doing another resistor on this to sort of give it a lot less margin of error. Sort of, it'll only come on with, you know, 12 volts or more or something like that. Just try and figure out what voltage is the threshold for this, because I think these would work at 6 volt as well. I'm pretty sure. Not a huge deal breaker right now. It's one specific issue I have to deal with, but overall, it's all in a really good place. There's not too much wiring. The headlight closes really easily, and all the harness stuff fits in there sort of like stock. I still have to add, I realized, a ground. My whole mount is isolated from the rest of the chassis, so I have to, and I think this was on the original bike as well, I just have to tie into the ground and maybe like a nut with a wire on it to tie in to bring in the ground so that these guys can work properly. That's it for me today. I'm really happy with the seat. I'm really happy with the electrical. I'm not starting the bike today. I just haven't had time to get around with it with the Yamaha sort of sitting behind me and trying to assess what's good and bad about that. And also I had some issues come up with the CM400 that I'm right in the middle of dealing with. I couldn't take the time to go there on the CB this week. That being said, my next video is going to be a CM400 update, because there's been some interesting developments with that bike, which a little bit of a bummer, but I think it's going to be okay. But it's a little bit of a story to tell, and I think it's kind of neat, so I'm going to do that next. Small update on the XJ550. Motor's not seized, which I think I already knew, except now I've verified it. I've got it, I turned it 4 times just to make sure nothing was hitting, but I do have a lot of electrical gremlins to sort out before we can even test start it. So I'm sort of just doing really boring testing, and these bikes have so many safeties in, like the clutch safety switch, the kickstand safety, the neutral thing, and a bike that's been sitting for this long, all the connectors are just seized and dirty and rusty. So it's a little bit of I just gotta kind of clean things to get to a starting point. But I have found a number of components that have failed, and they're on order, or rebuild parts for them, or whatever. Going along with the CM400 thing, there's some interesting developments for the XJ as well. I'll share a little bit of that on the CM400, because the stories kind of cross over with each other, which is kind of neat. Anyway, guys, as always, like the video, subscribe if you haven't, share this video or this series with somebody you think may enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and we will talk to you in the next one. Cheers.